What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video today. We're going to talk more about the draft. I want to talk about somebody that already had a visit with the Colts, with somebody whose name is picking up a lot of steam as we get closer to the draft, and that's defensive end, defensive tackle, Marshawn Kneeland, guy that went to a smaller school, right? Western Michigan guy. We've already talked about a Western Kentucky wide receiver, is small school, but somebody that's standing out. This is another guy. When you watch him play, you watch some of his highlights, and they're highlights, so they all look good. But he just looks different from the competition that he's playing against. Like, I kind of wonder why he didn't end up transferring to a different school. Maybe he just ends up at Western Michigan and didn't want to mess with the transfer portal. That'd be completely understandable. There are, 2,000 different college students in the transfer portal. Really wouldn't blame him for not wanting to be a part of that. But staying at Western Michigan, and from everything that I can see, was a dominant athlete at Western Michigan, playing against the guys that he was playing against. You look at his relative athletic score here. His hand size is 9.125. His arm length is 34 and a half. His total RAS here is 9.54. And there's some that I disagree with. Like, he's labeled as a defensive tackle, which is why his size grade on here is poor. If you label him as a defensive end, that changes, right? He's 6'3", 267. So I think that translates better to defensive end, which he's played both inside and outside. If you look at some of his tape from Western Michigan, and so he's a guy that has that versatility, just like Dio Dangbo, right? Who came into the NFL off an injury, but was still drafted fairly high, right? Day two pick for a guy that really we knew wasn't going to be able to play much, if at all, during his rookie year. And now he's at a point where it's pretty much widely believed Dio Dangbo is about to take the next step into stardom this upcoming year in 2024. And Marshawn Kneeland kind of feels like that kind of guy, right? Somebody that can come into the NFL, be part of the rotation, right? You have Kwity Paye, Samson Ebicom, obviously DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart in the middle, and you can have him come in and play the different spots on the line and get different experience, be able to fill different holes. But a guy that's uber athletic, right? Again, 267 pounds. This guy has a 35.5-inch vertical, runs a 4.75 40-yard dash, and even his agility scores are good, with his shuttle being 4.18, his three cone being 7.02. Those are both two of the top at his position coming into this one. So I think Marshawn Kneeland is a name I think has had and is going to have a total of 16 visits coming up to the draft. And the Colts were definitely on that list. Somebody that I would think the Colts would definitely be looking at. Now, we talked yesterday about how with Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner both getting paid, the Colts are likely going to go away from looking at a defensive tackle in the draft, even a guy like Braden Fisk, who could be there when we go to pick in the third round. But when you look at Marshawn Kneeland, because he has that outside versatility and because everything he brings as an athlete, right? You look at what Chris Ballard likes to get, it's guys just like this, guys with really long arms and guys that are very athletic. Chris Ballard is into that. And I think this is a perfect Chris Ballard pick. And this is a guy that could end up going in late first round, but a lot of people thinking he's going to be a day two pick, be somewhere in the early to mid second round, which could end up being where the Colts end up getting him. Right now, we know Chris Ballard doesn't trade up in the first round, but Chris Ballard is no stranger trading up in the second round and going to get somebody that he really likes. Okay, we all remember how the Jonathan Taylor thing went down, and we end up with Jonathan Taylor with the 42nd overall pick in that draft. So coming into this one, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a point where Chris Ballard is comfortable trading up a little bit in that second round because Marshawn Kneeland's still available. Again, that versatility, the kind of athlete he is, has Chris Ballard draft pick written all over him. And when you turn on the tape, like, he's somebody that I like. Again, playing against lesser competition because he was at Western Michigan, but a guy that has a dominant bull rush move. He is a very powerful human being. You can see, when you're watching him, his lower half is huge. This guy can anchor himself. He can use his legs to drive guys. There's a lot of power there. Continues to work on his upper body strength and continue to get stronger. Right, had 21 bench reps. So I think if he continues to work on that part, right, get stronger in the upper body to kind of match that lower body, he's going to be kind of a Miles Garrett light. Miles Garrett's a bit of an alien. He's a freak of nature. But Marshawn Kneeland can be that kind of player and can have that kind of impact. He'll have to be developed right. He'll have to continue to grow into his more manly body, coming out of college, continue to work on getting stronger and working on all the right things. And when you put him up with guys like Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner and being able to learn the things that those guys can teach him, it'll only be good for him in the future. So I think this is a guy that the Colts should definitely think about taking in the second round. There are a lot of people who think the Colts should take an edge rusher in the first round, and I understand that. And if the right guy's there, then sure, maybe it makes sense. It'll depend on how the draft looks at that point, what corners are available, what wide receivers are available, right? Defensive end is something that I think the Colts should go after. I thought it was something we should have went after in free agency and get a veteran guy. That's not happening. So maybe we're able to get a steal in the second round and be able to get Marshawn Kneeland. Um, whether it ends up being that or whether the Colts trade up into the late first round, there are people mentioning that and going and getting Chop Robinson if he's still available. He's somebody that I think is going to be really good in the NFL as well. So there are definitely options. But if we're going to wait till the second round to get an edge rusher and take presumably a cornerback, a lot of people think cornerback for the Colts in the first round. I think that's definitely a possibility, depending on how the draft falls, either cornerback or wide receiver. But second round, or again, trading up late first round, get that edge rusher. We all know we need it. Need to add to that rotation. Kwity Paye, good chance not going to be around, right? I don't think we're going to pick up his fifth-year option. He's going to be a free agent next year, and we'll see what happens with that whole situation. But good chance Kwity on his last year with the Colts. So bring in another guy you can add to the rotation now, get him some experience, and then he can take over next year, right? And presumably it'll be Samson Ebicom and Dio Dangbo going in 2025. And then, maybe Marshawn Kneeland or whoever is part of the rotation behind those guys. But again, we'll see how all that works. That's next year kind of stuff. But talking about the draft, we're less than 10 days from the draft at this point. And this is a name that I think Colts fans should start to look at because this is a guy that could very easily end up in Indianapolis after the draft next Thursday. So you let me know what you think about this down in the comments section. Of course, I want to know your opinion on this. Should we take him? Should we not? Should we trade up for him? Should we stay where we are in the second round and get him? Or should we just stay away from him? You let me know your opinion in the comment section. Of course, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified anytime any of these videos do come out. We're going to continue talking more about the draft leading up to the draft next Thursday. So again, make sure you have those notifications turned on. Of course, I appreciate you joining me for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.